Your work always tells a story. Let's have a close look.
Hello guys, welcome to Close Look. I am Daniel Westbay. This past week we had Sandy. She's a CVA officer. She's fought prejudice, racism, everything. And when I saw her interview with Alicia, and then I had her on my show, it dawned to me, I'm like, neither one of these conversations are the same. So guess what? We're gonna have two parts of Sandy's interview, two totally different directions in conversation. She's just that type of person. She doesn't give up on fear and will fight right through that SOB. Anyways, I hope that you enjoy it. I will see you soon. Here's Sandy with me first, and then next week will be Alicia. Have a good day.
Hi everyone, I'm Sandy Chadha. I am, let's see, what can I tell you about myself? Wow. I'm in my 50s. I'm a widow. I've got 4 adult boys. I've lived a very interesting life. I've had a career in law enforcement. I actually started out, I was in the Rcmp and as a police officer. And then after that, I've been with CBSA Customs for the last 30 years. I've done a lot of different things in my life, so I don't know where to start.
So the goal is not to piss her off. That's no. Where to start? So how did you know that you wanted to get into being, you said an officer first, right?
Yes.
How did you know that you wanted to get into that?
Wow. So actually I knew at a very early age when I was 12 years old, I kind of started thinking about what I want to be when I grow up. And my first thing was to become a flight attendant. And I love traveling. I wanted to travel the world. I was born in India. I was a year old and I came to England, immigrated with my family. And then at the age of 7, I came to Canada. So that wasn't really like travel, but I wanted to just travel the world. I wanted to see everything out there. And I couldn't do that. Somebody told me being a waitress is like being a flight attendant is like being a waitress in the air. So I thought, okay, forget that idea. And quite frankly, at the time, I thought, oh, I don't know what kind of looks I'm going to have. Back then it was all about the looks. It still is.
It still is.
You still have to have the looks, right? So I thought, forget that. And then I really wanted to be a lawyer. I actually, I still wish I had or could have done that. But I came,
So I guess the question we should have asked, what aren't you?
What am I not? Yeah. But you asked how to, and then by the age of 12, then I thought, I am going to be a police officer. And that is what I stuck to.
But why a police officer? Like, what is it that enticed you? Because it's not, it's not easy. One, it's a male dominant thing.
Absolutely.
And two, right now, police aren't really, I don't know if they were ever really looked in the best of lights.
Never.
So
never.
Okay.
Police officers are not well liked for the most part, right? Because, they're out there, they're catching the bad guys, they're putting you in jail. They're only coming when it's an absolute emergency, a terrible situation, domestic violence at home, somebody's getting beaten up, somebody's getting arrested for something, shoplifting, drugs, whatever the case may be, right? So police always show up at the worst time in your life, basically. But for me, it was about helping people. At a young age, I wanted to, because of the things that I was seeing around me in my community, in the Indian community, in community as a whole, there was a lot of domestic violence going on. There was, a lot of stuff going around in the family unit that I felt that, especially for women, that there wasn't that outlet, or they couldn't reach out. They couldn't speak to somebody in their own language. I speak Punjabi as well. And just for girls, young women, somebody going through sexual assault or any type of assault, they felt like they couldn't speak out or speak up or trust somebody that they could speak to. And so it was more along the lines of being able to help people, not just women, but just help people, young or old, it didn't matter. I just had it within me to, just get out there and not save the world, but just help.
She's a hero. I think that's your water.
Thank
So
you.
if you need
Sorry.
water, that's yours.
Sorry about that.
It's safe, guys. It's really warm in here. So I'm like sweating. I could like I think I have a sweat stain down my back here.
All these lights.
And she just did an interview, so she's warmed up for this.
Yes,
But
yes.
so what you got into this because you just want to help. Your father or family members weren't a cop. Usually, when you hear that somebody became a cop, they have a line of people.
Nobody in my family, nobody in my community, nobody I knew personally or that my family knew. Was into policing, and I was actually the first Sikh female.
I was actually going to say,
Yeah.
so you're not only female, but you are Indo-Canadian.
Yes.
So it's safe to say. And yes, I heard this in the interview. You were the first. Why am I? It doesn't mean anything coming from me.
Come on, Dan.
Go ahead.
So yes, I'm very proud of the fact that I was the first Sikh female in the Rcmp. I was sworn in as an officer on August 29 of 1989. And I went through depot. I went through all that. Yeah, it is. It's like boot camp. It's what you see on TV. That's exactly what it's like.
So I got a serious question then. Why are so many cops overweight? No, I'm
Overweight?
Yeah.
You know what? Because you only have to pass that physical training once. And that's it. I wish. So now that I'm with CBSA, and we are also law enforcement officers.
That's not the
Customs.
border.
Yeah,
Canada Customs. Okay.
So people don't know CBSA as much. We still call ourselves Canada Customs officers. Our frontline officers and some of our intel investigators, not everybody, but we do carry firearms. And you have to go through the whole training of knowing how to handcuff people, how to take you down. Do you want me to take you down right now?
No.
If it wasn't for COVID, I would give you a little demo right now.
That's actually, I'm always down for stuff like that. But yeah.
So I always joke because I have 4 adult boys and my oldest is 6'5", and I'm not that big of a person. I'm 5'5", and I always say, you better watch it because I can still take you down.
I feel like with the right, it's funny because I did wrestling back in the day.
Yeah.
And you learn a lot of moves that MMA fighters and stuff like that do. And it's like, we learn the safe way to do those things.
Exactly.
And it's like, obviously, I've wrestled with people that are smaller and they're just as crazy as the people.
Absolutely.
Not crazy.
No.
But
It's
I get
difficult.
what you're saying.
It's difficult, yeah.
I get what you're saying that sometimes sizes, doesn't.
Size
it
doesn't. I mean, yeah, size matters, but it's like
it depends on what you're talking about.
Size does matter if you're tall or short. We're talking about height here. But yeah, to give you an example, when I was posted in Leduc, Alberta, and actually, I just want to say, I was the first visible minority in Leduc, Alberta. Which, being a woman, being brown as they call us, in a, and I can say this openly, redneck community.
You could still say that.
It was it was very difficult, and I remember my very first call. We had this young fella, 15 years old, probably about 5'1", and he was on some type of substance. And there was 3 officers. We went down the highway between Edmonton and Calgary, high-speed chase. Pulled him over. Obviously, he was driving a car illegally, and pulled him over. And it took myself, another officer, a female officer, and she was built bigger than me, and another male officer, 6 foot tall. And it took 3 of us to get the handcuffs on him. So yeah, you can't just say that this person is tiny or I can take him down.
Well, the substance tends to numb certain things that make it easier to ignore your body being like, hey, this hurts.
Yeah, absolutely. But that was just a little side story there. So policing was something that I was really attracted to in terms of a career, law enforcement in a sense, and more just about helping people.
How long did you stay in law enforcement?
So I'm still in law enforcement, but
is this
just a different branch, right? Yeah. So with the RCMP, I was a police officer for 1.5 years. I had to make a very difficult decision to quit just because we had a family situation. At the time, I was I was raised in Vancouver. I could not come back to Vancouver. In 1989, the rules were that you could not come back to your home province. So we knew that we were going to be posted somewhere in Canada, somewhere other than home. And so that was fine. But then we had a situation. I was married at the time. A situation with my husband's family that medical reasons, And I ended up making a very difficult decision to quit the RCMP, my dream job, my dream career.
Yes.
And but then at the time I joined Customs, and I haven't looked back. Actually, it's been very rewarding.
So how long has it been?
It will be. I have to think now. 29 years. It's been 29 years.
Has it changed?
Oh, it's changed a lot. Yes, we went from collecting taxes to actually taking people down in cuffs. So it's
taxes.
Yeah. So
hang on, what?
Wow, that's quite the windstorm out there. Oh my God, something just fell on the roof.
Well, there's a balcony above us, but yeah, that was loud.
Yeah, that. Oh my God.
You could feel no doors are open here, guys. I felt a breeze on my leg.
Yeah, that's wicked out there. Let's hope the trees don't fall on us. But
the show will go on.
The show is going to go on. But yeah, no. So initially, Canada Customs was all about collecting taxes. As you know, when you crossed the border, or if you came at the airport, they asked, what did you bring back? And X number of dollars, and you always were sent inside to secondary, go pay the duties and taxes, that kind of stuff.
Oh,
right?
That's what you meant by okay.
Yeah,
I think you meant people's taxes.
No, well, not people's taxes, but duties and taxes on the goods that you're bringing into Canada, because the whole purpose of customs is to protect the people that come into the country, protect the citizens, of course, and we control the movement of goods that that come into the country and leave, and it's all about the economy, protecting the economy as well, right?
So how much? Because you bring up the taxes. So when you go, a lot of people go, and I don't know if this. One, Canadian customs are always much nicer than the Americans.
Absolutely.
But when we go, like say, because I go to the outlet stores, or used to, anyways, not right now, but used to go to the outlet stores, and then you come back and then you declare, and then you hope to God that they're not like
they're not going to send you in.
Can you go in and pay like $300 of? It's like how why how is that?
Why do you have to pay?
Is that? Yeah, why is that?
Okay, so when you're bringing something into the country, the duties and taxes have not been paid on that item because it hasn't been imported into the country by a company or by a person, and so when you do bring it into the country, that you're allowed certain exemptions. Like right now, it's $800. After 48 hours, you're allowed to bring in $800 worth of goods. They won't charge you on that.
After 48 hours.
After 48 hours. But anything above that, then they are supposed to charge you the applicable duties and taxes, right? Taxes are the provincial taxes. And so the reason being is that we are trying to protect the Canadian economy. So we want you to go and shop Canadian, so let's not go across the border and spend that money there. Let's shop here.
But you have to like, I know I'm going to steer away a little bit. We're going to go all over the place.
Yeah.
But you have to understand, like, you go there because even if you pay, like, their dollar is much higher than us, even if we pay their dollar, it's still cheaper.
Absolutely,
than here.
Do you know why that is?
Because we're shopping over there?
No. Because if you look at the numbers, look at the population. So the United States or any other country that you go to, they have a bigger population. They have more power to import goods or create more goods, produce more goods, right? So supply and demand, if there's more supply, the goods will be cheaper. It's mass production, right? Something that if you're only going to make one of is going to cost you $100. If you can make 10 of those, it'll cost you $10 as an example, right? So same in Canada, we don't have the population. Did you know that our population, the whole of Canada, is equal to the population of California? So picture that, right? So because our population is more dense around what we call close to the border, if you look at it like Lower Mainland, GTA, we're all very close to the United States. The rest of Canada, it's fairly wide open and it's empty, right? So based on the population.
I would imagine that it being busier here in the Lower Mainland than somewhere like in Calgary or Saskatchewan along their borders.
So people still go, but that's the reason why goods are cheaper in the States, because they can import more, they can bring in more. And that's why, and honestly, and I agree, like they have more, there's a lot more variety. You know, you get different styles and different products that you don't get here.
There really is.
Yeah, there is.
There's a lot in the States that I admire. I mean, their politics is not one of them. But
we won't go there. We won't go there.
I know. I would imagine that you're not allowed to really stand on one side or the other. But
I do shop in the States.
Okay, then answer this. Can you answer this? Why is it then that the Canadian officers are so much nicer than the
You know what?
I'm just curious.
Yeah, you know what though? I mean, I've actually never had a bad experience on either side of the border.
No, I'm not saying that they're mean. I'm just saying like sometimes
it's so again, because CBSA, because customs, we were from the mindset that, you know, we're collecting duties and taxes. We weren't so much about enforcement. You know, it wasn't so much about law enforcement, although it has changed now, right? The culture has changed. Whereas with the US, they were always armed. So they were more about that sort of tough enforcement type of authority, right?
It's just
and it's just
patriotism.
It's their culture. Exactly. Yeah. So, you know, they want to come across as, hey, you know, we're really tough. You're not coming into our country unless you give us a good reason to come in. Whereas Canada, as you know, hey, we're so friendly and come on in.
How you doing, eh?
We love you. Come to our country, right? We're so polite and we're so nice. And we should be, you know, why not, right?
No, I
You don't
agree.
have to be mean and all tough and everything.
I feel like when you do that though, you're almost asking for somebody, because everybody, if you're aggressive enough, you're already a cop. Let's face facts here. You're already a cop. So you know that they're nervous about any dumb question that you may answer wrong by accident because your roommate here or person that you're with didn't tell you the right thing.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you know, not everybody's smuggling drugs or smuggling goods across the border. They're just, you know, so I get that. I'm nervous. Every time I go, I'm nervous because I'm like,
yes,
I'm not doing anything wrong. I don't know why I'm nervous. And then, you know, because I've been, and I don't know if you want to speak about this. If you don't, that's fine. Yeah. But is there still discrimination along? Because I've been with a couple people like if I go with I'm white. If I go with white people, typically I don't at all get a lot of questions. I don't get looked at, and I go through. But if I'm with somebody of a different ethnic or a different color, all of a sudden it's like they ask more questions, and I've been pulled into the I don't even know what you call it, the docking bay or secondary. Yeah. So, I mean, I can't really, because I'm not here in a professional capacity, so I'm not going to comment a lot on, you know, what the policies and procedures are. But in general, in law enforcement, I can speak on that because that has been my background and my career. And yes, you're talking about racial profiling. Definitely it does happen. Is it done intentionally? No. A lot of times, you know, you have to look at the situation, you look at the circumstances, and also when you're searching that individual's ID, or you've ran their name in the computer, there could be other information that you're not aware of that comes up. So sometimes it looks like they're being singled out, or, you know, it might be because of their color, or it might be because of this. But it is there, whether it's well, it's in any profession.
Exactly. Like, you know, they're not going to come out and say, yes, you know, we do racial profiling. And I'm talking about any law enforcement agency in the world. But there are sometimes reasons to do that, or sometimes there's information that leads you to believe that, yeah, okay, this one group is being targeted. But you also have to look at, you know, world events, other things that are going on that may look like, okay, now we're just focused on this one group here. Are they all from the same country? Are they all the same color? Are they all the same background? So sometimes that, you know, does happen. It comes into play. I can tell you my own personal experiences.
I was actually going to lead into that.
Yeah, so definitely, like when I cross the border, I never identify myself as an officer or who I am.
But if they scan, won't it?
No, it doesn't
come
necessarily.
up.
No, because all they're scanning is my my passport.
Okay.
Right? So your passport doesn't give your occupation. So this is why they will ask you, what's your occupation, right? There is ways to bring up that information, but it doesn't necessarily, you know, pop up right away, right? And so I don't identify myself as an officer because I want to be treated as a citizen of the country, you know, as anybody else. Or if I'm going into the US, you know, I'm coming to visit, you know, it doesn't matter who I am, right? And but yeah, if I go dressed in my traditional Indian clothing, I get treated very differently, as
How does
opposed
that
to
feel?
if I'm dressed like this. And
Like
it
we're in
just
2018. I'm gonna use 2018 because it can't really go anywhere right now. we're,
2021.
we're in in an
We're in
age
the
where
future.
people should be more accepting of everybody, not and yet I find that it's only gotten a bit worse, and it's tough because people ask me to talk on this about, but honestly, like it's not that I don't want to, it's not that I'm ignorant, it's just I don't I don't I see people for the value they bring to the table to
Yes.
what I do, not to ethnicity or their skin color or disabilities. I don't I just don't care about that stuff. I care about what you bring to the table. Are you a kind person? It's so how does that feel to
Daniel, I mean, you're so young, and you probably, I'm sure you have
I'm
lots
not
of
that
life
young,
experiences.
but I appreciate it.
But you, and also not being of color, I'm going to say it, you're a white male, right?
am.
So you haven't probably experienced some of the discrimination or the stereotype, or the prejudice that somebody like myself might have faced, right? So sometimes it is hard to wrap your head around that. Well, how does that happen? How does that feel? I have a colleague, white male, same thing. He says to me, he goes, I don't see the color of your skin. I see you. I see Sandy. I see you as a person. Like you said, are you kind to me? Are you a good person? Or are you just, mean, right? But a lot of us, we have biases. We have, prejudices, stereotypes that are ingrained in us, from our culture, from our upbringing, from our parents, from our community. So I remember growing up, hearing one constant thing from my mother, and I won't repeat it on air, but it is towards one particular group and another country, and then she would constantly say, I don't like these people. I don't like these people. And I couldn't understand why. And I'm like, why would you say that, Mom? But then I sat down and I talked to her and I asked her, why, Mom? And then she told me, so we're from India, and she was talking about people from Pakistan. And she said, because when she was a child, so she was born in 1936. So when she was about 10, 11 years old, she goes, the Pakistanis came through our villages. So if you know anything about India, there's cities and there's villages. She said they came in on their horses in the villages, and they were either taking the women away and the young girls away, and assaulting them, or they would come with their swords and they were beheading anybody in their way, right? So she grew up with that violence. She saw that violence, and to her it was one group of people. Now to stereotype that, and to say that they're all like that, right? But
the few wreck it for the many.
right.
Yeah.
So then, with her words constantly saying, well, I don't like this particular group, now subconsciously in my mind, I'm thinking, oh my God, I don't like this one group, but I can't do that, right? I have to learn for myself, and I have to have the interactions with people. And being in the profession that I'm in, I interact with all people of all walks of life and all backgrounds. So
how do you overcome that then?
Like you said, you see the person for who they are. I'm going to judge you based on what you've told me, what I can gather from our interaction, from our conversation. There's bad apples in every group, every community, but let's not let that cloud our judgment, right? Let's give everybody the opportunity.
I do feel that way, and I know a couple people who do see things a little bit, I don't know if it's right to say backwards, because in their world that is the right way. And it's not that I'm like trying to tell people what is the right way. It's like I like having conversations about things. I find that if once somebody starts to yell or get angry, you can't have a conversation anymore. And so that's kind of where I stand. My father was raised the same way. He's actually it's funny because everybody looks at me as white and they tell me white privilege. And it's funny because you won't know that I'm South America, also half Spanish and half German, but like my dad ran away because there was dictatorship that was trying to, so they escaped to Canada. And he's like, even he would have racism towards him and when growing up and all that stuff. So it's just, I know, but I totally don't. Yeah. But what I was trying to get to was like, it seems that a lot of people from like your parents or their parents, and same with my parents and his parents, it seemed like the world was, he hates the term the good old days because he's like, yes, they weren't that good.
They weren't good. They were good. There was good days and bad days.
Maybe entertainment wise, they were great, but you know, political and people running from their country wise, it wasn't a great time. So, it's funny to that's how he raised me, and that's why I think that you talk about raising people in a different sense. I think that's how he raised me to look at things. Exactly. And sometimes it comes off ignorant. Sometimes people get angry at me because I don't see it from a negative point of view sometimes.